Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
You're on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to this channel. Like this video. And Middlecoff, if you like this video, send it to somebody else will like this video.
Yes, and also tell them to check out our podcast below in the description. Haberman, that's him. Middlecoff, that's me. Check it out. We do like 3 or 4 podcasts a week. Get on it.
Yeah. All right, so this happens. You get bounced out of the playoffs. People start talking about should Joel Embiid get traded. The Warriors got the second pick. Ethan Strauss wrote a piece. Everyone's talked about it. Like, you have two options, basically. Trade the pick, use the pick on whoever you think. I mean, that's pretty obvious. The problem is no one really knows if this is going to be a draft worth trading in. It doesn't feel like it. It doesn't mean it won't turn out to have been one, but it's not really the most valuable second pick we've seen in a long time now. You can't trade it to Philly because they're sitting there dying for Markelle Fultz or something. So, you know, did you see have people begun suggesting that the Warriors can extend their window by trading for Joel Embiid?
Yeah, I think it's been out there a little bit that people have just been sniffing around. And to me, you only have 2 untradeable players, and that's obviously Steph and Clay. Everything else is on the table. Now, I don't know how much value currently Draymond would have. I'm not one of those naive Golden State Warrior diehard homers that just act like Draymond Green straight up for Giannis. Like, I'm not that big of an idiot. And Wiggins has no value, right? No value in the sense that you'd have to trade him.
His only value is that his contract is massive.
Yeah. But you'd say the Warriors do have 2 pretty premium assets, right? They have the number 2 overall pick. They also have a $17 million trade exception, and they have next year's Timberwolves pick, which could be like 4 or 5, which in a draft that, just reading the Mike Schmitzes of the world, feels like a much more hyped draft, right?
Mobley, Bagley, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Some of these select guys.
So the next year's draft could be big. The Timberwolves are going to suck. Like, those 2 picks
By the way, there's another Bagley is why.
Yeah, not Marcus. Yeah, so here's my thing, Guy. If I'm the Warriors and I could do some crazy package to get, I would not fuck with Joel Embiid. I've come to grips with, I think he's just a complete tease. To me, his mindset for his talent is immense. But I'm just not messing with him, man. I can't do it, especially given that they would have to empty the war chest, right, of the picks. Well, and those 2 picks. At the end of the day, whatever you think about number 2 overall pick, if you do get it right, I didn't know this until someone tweeted it on the other night on the lottery. It was after we recorded our pod. I thought the NBA rookie makes like $5-6 million. The guy makes a 4-year, $40 million contract, the number 2 overall pick. Like, that's not cheap, right? I mean, that's $10 million play. Like, that guy does have to be good.
Yeah.
$10 million. The NBA average is like 7, a little under 7.
Now, I think this is a pretty tame comment, so we can come back and readdress it in a year. But I don't think I'm saying something crazy here, so I'm not going to pretend like I'm making some big statement. I'm really confident that we'll look back at this draft and say there was somebody who goes in the top 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 that turns out to be a really, really, really good, a player worthy of the pick. Is he great with a capital G? We'll see. But that guy exists. The question is, can you find him? We've got guys who haven't played. We've got guys who we don't know their heights and weights. There's a lot going on. It's going to be easy to miss. I'm just saying the guy is in this draft, so somebody's going to end up with that guy. Maybe there's multiple of those guys. I don't know.
Well,
but that guy's here. He's in the draft.
Well, if I told you right now that John Morant and Zion were in this draft, so the Warriors, like, we're going to get one of the 2 of them, and it would be probably pretty clear, like, you're going to get John Morant. Would they try to trade John Morant for, like, a Bradley Beal type, you think, immediately, or would they draft that guy?
To me, it would depend, wouldn't there be Ja specific? Like, I think if the number 2 guy, if Anthony Edwards was John Morant, if it was like that position,
yeah,
being a point guard, I think they would trade it
and just try, and they would be able to get someone sweet, right?
Yeah. But by the way, I would not. Because I don't think you can. By the way, I'm on Trade Machine as we're talking. Wiggins for Embiid straight up works. That trade works. Same exact money, John. 27, 504, 630.
They're on the same exact contract, basically, right?
Yeah. I think if I'm Philly,
are you in agreement with me? If somehow they could agree to some trade package with trade exceptions, maybe it's a 3-team trade, all the sweet picks, you would not do the Embiid deal.
No. I think if I'm Philly, I'd have to end up with Clay. Like, there's nothing else you give me that is
How
even
many
close.
how many players in the NBA, if you're the Warriors, would you trade Clay straight up for?
Luka,
Yeah.
Giannis,
It's a small list, correct?
Kawhi,
Yeah. Like it's
Harden.
a very yeah. Would you trade him straight up for Harden?
I mean, I wouldn't. I just but I want to just enjoy what I'm watching, and I love
Yeah,
watching Clay with Steph.
exactly. Regardless, like it is a small list. Like you would not trade Klay Thompson straight up for Joel Embiid, correct? Because I would not. Would you?
Not a chance in hell.
Yeah, zero chance. So I just don't see where. I just wouldn't want him on my team, even if I could get him on my team for the other assets. He's just proven guy, and I think sometimes in sports, you see these guys that become really fun and really loud, and then it's clear like they're really, really talented, which he is. That it's easy then to kind of the pendulum can swing fast. Like it goes, this guy is such a good player, good player, good player. To almost is he overrated? Because part of being
Just 'cause you
in
get a
a
lot of
team
attention.
sport, it's a team game. And I think a big guy, historically, you don't need to force Klay Thompson in the game, right? Or just most wing players. They can just even Pandemic P. It's just part of the flow.
Call
He's
him
missing
Paul
shots.
for this case.
That
He's
he
earned
just
that.
there's just a flow of the game. You do need to force, and this is where Shaq used to get furious, right? Is like, throw me the
Give
fucking
me the ball.
ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't need to give Steph or Clay the ball because they just get the ball.
I saw there was a stat. I think it was in one of the articles I read. I don't know if it was Philly Voice or one of the Sixers writers wrote that only 10 teams in the NBA averaged 10 or more post-ups a game this year, which was down like 50% from a couple years ago. Plus, Clay defends the other team's best player, perimeter player.
Wouldn't
now.
that be the pushback? Because I keep seeing these stats too, just on my Twitter timeline, where at number 2, if you're the Warriors and you go, they're going to take Anthony Edwards number 1, and clearly the second best player on our board is James Wiseman, but it doesn't fit the way the league plays. It is a complicated situation for him, right?
Like maybe it was it might have been in the Ethan article I read that because he was talking about.
Like, if you think that James Wiseman is the best player, but the league is fundamentally getting away from it, doesn't it give you pause to draft the guy?
Yeah, I guess then the question is, like, how much better do we think he is than the next guy? Because at the end of the day, are we good enough right now? If this guy's just really good, but it's just he's going to have to get everything as sloppy seconds, tap-ins, rebounds, kickouts.
If I tell you that the league's trending like it's trending, and he turns into, let's just say, I'm just going to throw this name out there, Chris Bosh, is that more than good enough that you like, fuck yeah, you just take him, he'll be good enough?
Yeah, I mean, Chris Bosh is happy to hang out around the three-point line, right? You would do that in a heartbeat. What if I told you he's Hassan Whiteside?
Yeah, no chance. Or DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah,
right?
Maybe that's mean to James Wiseman. But I don't know if you saw this, but after the game, after they got swept out of the playoffs, in the post-game press conference, must have been on Zoom, one of the Philadelphia reporters was like, "Hey, what's the deal? Like, what's wrong with you guys?" Basically, he wasn't even that aggressive. He just like listed a bunch of things like, "What's the deal?" And Embiid was like, "That's a stupid question. Nothing's wrong with us. We just got beat." Like, hey, Joel, you just got swept. Now, I know Ben Simmons was hurt, but you didn't just kind of get beat. You got, like, they played better. They beat us. Like, that doesn't work. And I think they even went, whatever the studio show was, whoever they came to. Was Jay Will on TV today?
Yeah, it was Jay Will and, like, Jalen Rose.
That's a legitimate question, dude. Like, what are you talking about? You can't
to
say
me,
that to a legitimate question. What's wrong with you guys? You just got swept. This wasn't Game 7. The ball didn't bounce your way. You guys are, like you said, you were going the wrong direction. So
there's a little bit, and I think sometimes when you are, one statement I read, and it might have been from that article. I didn't read the article, but I think just people on my timeline were tweeting out just highlights and excerpts from it. The process treated those guys, but specifically him, like not just like he had arrived, like he was a superstar before he'd even done anything, and then he became really good. The irony with Joel Embiid is he's actually been kind of healthy, right? Like injuries have not really been his issue lately. Like he's playing in all these games. I would have thought Embiid 4 years ago, and then like it's a coin flip every game he's gonna play. He plays. He's just one of the issues right now. He's always out of shape. He doesn't look like. Say what you want about Shaq, even when he was mad not getting the ball. When he wanted to, it was like I'm fucking wrecking shop, right? Grabbing rebounds, blocking people. You just felt Shaq, even when he was pissed. I just watch sometimes Joel Embiid, who about a year ago, he was my favorite player in the NBA. They're like, what happened to this guy? And that's where I think in the NBA, and maybe it's just sports in general, but specifically basketball and football, the easy move, at least in football, like Jim Tom Sewell and Freddie Kitchens have like dramatic impact. Like Brett Brown, like I don't know if there's much he could have done. There's you don't the impact of a coach with a star, like you don't get them to play harder. Did you see sometimes people tweeting out like clips of LeBron like not get back on defense? Like you don't get to coach LeBron's effort, right? That ended a decade ago. You don't get to really coach Embiid's effort. Now you can trade him or get rid of him, but like his effort's his effort, and that's part of the NBA. Like James Harden, Giannis, like now the good and the bad. Like you love Giannis's effort or you love Clay's efforts. You don't even need to worry about it. That's why certain elite guys are just like Kawhi. He'll be fine. But some guys, like, yeah, you don't. Joel Embiid's Joel Embiid. Like, you don't get to fucking. You can yell at it. It doesn't work. It's one issue with basketball, right? It's why a lot of college guys like Jay Wright are like, you think, what? I don't want that fucking job, right? It sounds miserable.
Yeah. Jay Wright loves 3-year guys. You can yell at those guys.
Well, yeah, Jay Wright would say, I actually get to coach. It's why I bet Billy Donovan would say, you know what? Since Russell and Kevin left, at least my team, like, reacts when I coach.
I will say this though, John Calipari's team is always filled with guys that leave early, and I do think it's always
but he
fascinating.
likes
it. Yeah. I'm just saying, like that's also coaching, right? Trying to get that team from being a bunch of high school guys in November to being tournament ready. Can we go to the Elite Eight, the Final Four in March?
Well, isn't it why and you've
and
always
he
said
yells
this,
and he yells.
Like Phil Jackson deserves way more credit than he probably gets,
Always.
and he gets a lot.
Now, clearly, one thing watching. Michael was a big part of motivating other people too, but to manage how difficult it must have been to be Michael's teammate emotionally, right? For Phil to manage all those different things, it's crazy.
What about just the 3 year? I'd say 96, 97, 98, just managing that whole spectacle.
The Last Dance, yeah.
And clearly managing Shaq and Kobe way harder than managing Michael, right? Like I'd say the Shaq
because he had to manage two, and they
had to manage
butt
two.
Heads. Happy birthday!
And then Kobe was probably more challenging than any player he'd ever managed, right? Like he called him. Remember didn't he talk a bunch of shit?
Didn't he say he was uncoachable?
Yeah, said he hated him. Said he thought about quitting because he couldn't coach the guy.
Let us know what you think about Embiid and Clay's untradeability down in the comments below.
Like the video.